My understanding is the government's playing hardball on the mining. Should we open it up and just get on with it?
Well, look, mining is, we're a pro-mining government. We've seen a massive increase, a tenfold increase in the mining exploration dollars spent in the state. We've now got, I can't recall the exact number, I think we're up to 7 or 8 mines now operating in South Australia. We'll have 11 or 12 by the end of the year, or numbers comparable with that. Another 25 on the drawing books. And the elephant in the room, which is the Olympic Dam expansion, is still on track, will occur, which will be a multi-billion-dollar investment. We have 35 to 40% of the world's known uranium. Mining has given our economy a great balance. And I would argue, if you looked at any other state in Australia, we are the best balanced economy. We have a growing mineral sector, a very strong agricultural sector, a very strong manufacturing sector, albeit a changing manufacturing sector, and a very strong services sector, be it tourism, education services. I can't think of any other state in Australia that has that complement of industry sectors. On mining, we're already seeing a lot of activity in the economy, a lot of housing demand, because what happens in the mining sector is it's the pre-positioning of companies that get in early, that whether they're the white-collar professional services or the construction companies and the logistics companies that get in ahead of the curve when it comes to mining development, so they're located in the state or the city or the regional centre that can get good access to early contracts. So I'm very excited about mining, and it will play an ever-increasing role in the sustainability of our economic growth in South Australia.
There's so much money in the West, and the observer would say that the West let the mining companies come in and got stuck into it. Will we see that kind of wealth in South Australia?
Well, the reason it's occurred in WA is a pretty simple one, is that you can trip over a rock in the West and you'll find uranium. Or a lot of the pastoralists had bought large tracts of pastoral land to run their beef, decades and decades ago, and then wondered what that sort of shimmering copper look was on the rocks that they could see in the distance. It was iron ore. In South Australia, in the development of our globe, unfortunately for us, a lot of our mineralisation lies very deep underneath the landfill. Now, Olympic Dam, for example, the 35% of the world's known uranium deposit, BHP have to scrape or dig 300 metres down before they can start getting access to the mineral. A lot of mines in South Australia, our copper mines, require substantial digging, substantial capital outflow before you get a return. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't happen in the West, of course it does, but there's also a lot of mineralisation in the West that's much cheaper, much easier and more cost effective to get out of the ground. What we're now finding in South Australia is that as a lot of the mining tenements and areas have been exploited nationally and globally, the more expensive, harder places to get minerals are now coming into flavour, and SA is one of those provinces.
Education.
Yep. Look, education is the be-all and end-all of modern society. What we're doing in South Australia is we're encouraging a lot of attention at the very early years of childhood. We're having childcare centres and early childhood centres. We've announced some in this election campaign where we want to get kids, even before they get into primary school, even at the kindergarten level, starting to get some basic principles of education. We've made class sizes smaller in primary education. We're putting more resources into education, more dollars per student spent here in this state now than ever before. We've brought back a trade school component into a number of our secondary schools now, because with all due respect to the professional services, we also have to have the physical skills, the electricians, the mechanics, the welders, the plumbers, etc. A lot of effort there. We've reformed TAFE. We've improved the school curriculum to make it more relevant to a modern society. And ultimately at university level, we've encouraged a number of foreign universities, Carnegie Mellon, University College London, and Cranfield Defence University, to establish campuses to give us both competitive pressure at the top end as well as course choice to make South Australia the education city of Australia.
Immigration, Kevin, just before we finish, are we still a regional status? Do we get our lion's share of
We do.
immigrants?
We are still. We still have a benefit because of our regional status here in South Australia. That's been a terrific assistance to this state. We need more people for a number of important reasons. None more important than at unemployment rates at 4.4%. Of course, every Australian should have access to the jobs available, and we would always have a view that Australian jobs should be available for Australians. But the reality is that there are many sectors of our economy where we simply don't have enough skilled labour. Now we can make a choice. We can decide not to have that piece of economic activity and be a poorer nation or a poorer state for it, or we can bring those skills into the nation, make ourselves a richer nation and reward those people with citizenship and an opportunity to become valued members of society. I come back to a point I made earlier. If you don't have immigration, if you don't have population growth, if you don't have natural birth increase and your population stagnates or goes backwards, we will be a poorer society and place to live than we otherwise would be. And no government, particularly a Labor government, wants to manage a society that is in decline. We want to manage a community and society that is growing.